have some doubts about diabetes. If I clear it with you, I think I can do a better service to those people who are having diabetes in our Australia. So my first question is, what should be the normal blood sugar level?
So for a non-diabetic patient, the normal blood sugar is considered as anything below 100, that is the fasting.
Okay.
And the postprandial one, anything below 200 for a non-diabetic person. For a diabetic person, the target value is 110 to 130 for fasting and 140 to 180 for after food or postprandial, what you call it.
Yeah. So that means after taking the food, after how many hours the test has to be done?
Usually it is to be taken after 2 hours after food.
Fasting,
Fasting
can they have water?
is-
Can they have water?
They can have water.
They can have water.
Fasting is to be taken 8 to 10 hours after last meal.
Last, that is dinner, after dinner, yeah. 8 to 10 hours.
Yeah.
But what my question is, this blood sugar test, is it necessary we have to do any pathology, or can we do it at Australia only with the help of glucometer?
Okay. So for regular monitoring, we advise glucometer testing for patients who are on insulin. Patients who are on oral tablets, we do not advise them the glucometer test. Better is once in a month they should do in the pathology lab, because the glucometer itself can have 15 to 20% error.
Oh.
So if the glucometer is showing 100, it may be 70 or it may be 130. For lower side, for higher side, it will be, the difference will be 60 to 100 also. So that's why glucometer as such, even though good glucometers are available, the clarity for this is not there. And this is all over last 20 years what we have learned, that patients should do once in a month a lab test.
Once in a month. Even though they are in insulin, then also they should have go for once in a month?
In the lab, so that we know the reliability of the glucometer. Because glucometer changes according to person's age, the male or female, they have hemoglobinopathies, multiple factors are there which affects glucometer.
Thank you, doctor. Now, my next question, what is an AIC? That is, they say, sometimes you do HbA1c test. And what is that and why it is done?
Okay. So normally in a person's blood sugar, the blood sugar reacts with the hemoglobin. Hemoglobin has multiple factors, A1, A2 and like that. So the hemoglobin, this A1C fraction is irreversibly bound to glucose, and it is related to the age of the red blood cell. So the red blood cell's age is around 120 days. But on an average, we consider 90 days as the reliability for the HbA1c. So whenever the blood sugar crosses a particular level, it irreversibly binds to that hemoglobin. So that hemoglobin is checked, and that is called as the hemoglobin A1c fraction on the analysis.
So is it necessary that you have to do, or in what cases you actually suggest that test?
It should be done in each and every diabetic patient, but in our country we advise at least minimum twice a year in who are well controlled, and who are not well controlled 4 times a year.
So next question is, what is the diet for a diabetic person?
For the A1C, I will just elaborate. The target for A1C for normal person is below 6%. Up to 6.4 we call pre-diabetic. 6.5% is diabetic. So the target after treatment is below 7%. But as you age, above the age of 70, 75, we tend to relax the HbA1c control to 7.5%. And extremes of ages, it can also go up to 8%. It tells A1c is important because it tells us regarding the future development of complications. So if the A1c is in control, future microvascular complications do not happen. If the A1c is not under control, then they will happen, and they will happen frequently.
So according to you, that A1C test is a must?
It is must. At least once in 6 months it should be done. It is like the lighthouse on the seashore.
Yeah.
It will show us the road whether we are on the right
Can
road.
prevent the further damage.
Further microvascular and macrovascular complications.
Thank you. So that question is what the diet they should follow, the diabetic person.
So
Not
usually-
only the food item, fruits or vegetable, what type of fruits they can eat and what type of vegetable, and whether carbohydrates they can consume more or they have to consume more protein.
See, our body requires carbohydrate, fat, and protein. Normal Indian diet consists of around 70% of carbohydrate, 20% of protein, and 10% of fat. But the fat which you are consuming, whether it is unsaturated or saturated. So, if you are using vegetable oil, that is a supersaturated fat, which is not good for your heart. Usually, unsaturated or monounsaturated fat are good. This is because of the mixture of the different oil which you get, that rice bran, so you get those type of fat. Even a common ghee in small amount is good.
Good.
Proteins, the common source of protein is of course non-veg, where chicken, fish is good. Red meat, of course, the fat should be removed. That is a good product, along with egg and milk. And for vegetarians, it is the pulses which use the meat, the protein. Carbohydrate, the major source is rice, wheat, jowar. So all these are carbohydrate. Along with that, complex carbohydrates are all the vegetables. So these vegetables, they have a lot of fiber, so they do not increase the sugars very fast. So the carbohydrates are graded according to the glycemic index. The glycemic index is up to which food will increase the sugar rapidly, that has a higher glycemic, and which food increases to sugar very slowly, it is lower glycemic. So on an average, the white bread is around 50 to 60% glycemic. So what we suggest is we have to choose from this. So carbohydrate has to be matched with equal bowl of protein, like dal or chicken or fish. One roti, one bowl of dal or something like that. Two roti, two dal, two bowl of dal, like that. Or one vati rice, one bowl of dal. There is no point in stopping rice and having 3 chapati, or having 3 bowls of rice and 1 bowl of protein. It needs to be balanced. And along with that, few fruits are to be avoided, that is mango, chiku, grapes, banana and sitafal. Because of this, these fruits have very high glycemic index. So people, their sugars increase very rapidly. I got a patient who had a mango juice, that mango with juice, she just had it, only one, and it got a 700 sugar. So,
no, I'm just asking, suppose if they have now this is the mango season. If they like to have some, definitely everybody like to have some mango.
anything,
In case if they have 1 or 2 mangoes in a day, then can they avoid other things like carbohydrate, proteins, rice, chapati?
you cannot avoid anything. So for fruits are for vitamins basically, but nowadays all the fruits are artificially ripened, so the quantity of vitamins which these fruits give is very less. So what I suggest is take it in a spoon. If you want mango, have as much as 1 spoon contains. So
1
that
spoon of
one spoon of that,
mango
no
juice.
juice, no fruit juice. Fruit juices are all glucose only. They will increase the sugar. So fruits are to be taken in their natural state, which also contains some amount of fiber. Like good fruit is apple or pear. So lot of fiber is there. So fruit juices are strict no.
Not advisable.
Not advisable.
But actually in South, the staple food is the rice only. They don't have chapati. So how they can compensate?
So like I said, that if you are having 1 bowl of rice, 1 bowl of dal, 1 bowl of chicken, or 1 bowl, it should be matched with protein, equal amount.
And for the non-vegetarian, it is only the pulses and the protein. Protein is from the pulses.
Protein is dal and some amount can come through milk, almond, or walnut.
Why there is more craving for sugar in diabetic people?
So it's human nature. The thing which we restrict, our mind craves for it. So in diabetics, if you stop sugar, they will crave for it. The one thing you have to understand is sugar is totally unnecessary for our body. It is an artificial thing which we have gotten accustomed. If we go back 100 years, we were not having sugar. We were having jaggery at that time. So this craving, this high sugar craving is because as soon as we have sugar, our body secretes insulin, and this insulin again brings down the glucose. So immediately as the glucose goes down, your brain again craves for glucose. That's why this is a vicious cycle of craving. So you are not satisfied with one chocolate, you keep on eating more chocolates. So the best thing is, you don't know, you are misinterpreting the craving. Maybe you are thirsty, maybe you are having something else. So better to look at it.
Now my question is, suppose if the person is normal, not non-diabetic, should they control sugar so that should not get diabetic in their life? If they control sugar or not, do not take any sweet, can they avoid getting diabetic?
So looking at our natural history of being an Indian, so we Indians have been having this habit of feeding our guests or the atithityo like that, because of there was an alternative family. So we have a tendency to convert everything into form of fat, and so that it can be used in the case of famine. So those people, instead of stopping sugar, they look at their weight and include a healthy lifestyle where they are having lot of exercise along with a healthy food, not just based on sugar. They should have a healthy amount of carbohydrate, fat, and protein. And this mixture along with aerobic exercise helps them in preventing diabetes.
See, what are the resources that is available to help to control diabetes?
So the resources are what you have. See, any new patient of diabetes who comes to me, I always advise them, the tablets are on the 7th step. First 3 steps are diet. Next 3 steps are exercise. On the 7th step, we start that. Usually, we would like to give them a chance that any modification of your diet and your lifestyle is definitely going to help you in controlling your sugar.
Thank you. Is it a lifelong disorder or it can be totally cured?
So diabetes is like
It is a disease.
It is because you have gained weight. So this is, we are talking about type 2 diabetes. Okay. There is another diabetes called as type 1 diabetes, which happens in young children. Their own white blood cells destroy the insulin producing cells, and they lose the ability of producing insulin lifelong. For them to live, they have to take insulin. They cannot live without insulin. For type 2 diabetes, on the contrary, it is a disease of insulin resistance, where the body has enough insulin, but it is unable to act because of the weight gain, the fat percentage which is there, which is not allowing the insulin to act. So because of this, if a person loses weight, or what is advisable is 10% weight loss, then their tablets may go away, or they will be on minimum tablets. That is called as
is it every time due to weight? Because some even thin people are also diabetes.
Yeah, so that is because of insulin. The basic pathology is insulin resistance. But 90% of the people are overweight. Very rarely do we get a type 2 diabetes in a thin person, but that depends upon genetics. Now there are more than 25 variants of diabetes. So we have to look at which type of diabetes is that.
Yeah, because sometimes I have seen people after getting diabetic, they lose weight.
Yes, but there are some medications which help in losing weight, and that's how they control the diabetes.
But is it possible for them to get diabetes after the age of 80? After the age of 80?
Yeah, so that is like our hairs get gray, your insulin producing capacity also goes down.
But that is not a
This is new type of diabetes, what we call as age-related diabetes.
But it has to be medicated.
Depends upon how high the sugar. See, at the age of 80, we are not looking at complication developing after 10 years or 50. And we are not very strict about their diet control or the HbA1c control. So we give them a average around 8% of HbA1c control and on an average around 150 to 200 sugar. So that they do not fall because of low sugar and hypoglycemia.
Yeah, there are hypoglycemia and hyperglycemia. So what is the
Yeah, that is called as hypoglycemia. So hypoglycemia is a condition where the blood sugar falls down below normal. In a person, in a diabetic person, when it falls down below 70, they get symptomatic. But a documented hypoglycemia, we call it below 55. So when the sugar falls below 55, the brain mainly survives on glucose. Brain being a organ made mainly because of the fatty tissue, it cannot metabolize fat. So it lives only on glucose. So if there is low glucose, the brain starts sending distress signal to the body in the form of nervousness, sweating, palpitations, increased hunger. So these are the symptoms of hypoglycemia. Sometimes if the hypoglycemia is rapid, if the patient has taken insulin and not eaten, then they may go into hypoglycemic coma. That can cause death also. So all the diabetic medications are very potent medications. So you have to follow the instructions correctly.
But hypoglycemia, as I said, it may lead to coma or even to death. But what about hyperglycemia?
So hyperglycemia is gradual increase in the sugar. So most of the time our body has a system, a physiological system, it is called a homeostasis. That is, it is trying to maintain the body in the jaise the condition. If the sugar rises from 100 to 150, your body adjusts for that. 150 to 200, it will adjust. Gradually, so people whose sugar rises gradually up to 400, 500, they may be asymptomatic also. But whose sugar rises very rapidly, like one of my patients had taken 2 bottles of Pepsi, 1 liter Pepsi, and had sugars of 1200. He ended up with a hyperglycemic coma. Because there was sudden increase in glucose, the brain lost all its water and it caused all the other abnormalities and they had to be admitted in the ICU.
But what I am asking now, hypoglycemia or hyperglycemia, whatever it is, so when we diagnose it, what are the first aid that we can give? Now for hypoglycemia, can we give sugar, water, sugar?
See, any diabetic person, if he is unconscious, you cannot give anything orally. So for that type of person, you need to hospitalize, immediately reach the hospital. But if a person is having symptoms of hypoglycemia, tremors, increased sweating, bradycardia, giddiness, then you can give Glucon-D 2 teaspoons below the tongue. So within 3 to 5 minutes that reaches the brain. And then you can use something to eat. Or you can give alternatively a fruit juice, any available fruit juice you can give so that the glucose reaches the brain immediately.
How about hyperglycemia?
Hyperglycemia, you have to reach the hospital. You can't give because that needs insulin, that needs management of the dyselectrolytemia where the sodium potassium levels need to be changed. So for hyperglycemia, you cannot waste your time at home.
But among these, which is more dangerous?
Hypoglycemia, of course, is more dangerous. It is treatable. If you can anticipate it, it is treatable. But if a person is getting repeated attacks of hypoglycemia, he gets a condition called as hypoglycemia unawareness,
अच्छा.
which is more dangerous, where we will not get any warning signal and he will go in hypoglycemia. That's why all the diabetic patients require 1 month or 2 monthly routine visit to the doctor, because that needs to be monitored.
But we have diabetic patients, they have some symptoms, they have some understanding, they may go to hypoglycemia, then they eat some chocolate, or is it advisable, is it possible, can they do that?
See, like I said, chocolate will take 45 minutes to 1 hour from the stomach to liver to brain.
Yeah.
So that's why instead of the bad habit of having a chocolate, better to have Glucon-D 2 teaspoons below that. You cannot keep on eating sugar continuously.
So, now in the beginning, how you diagnose it is diabetic? By doing blood test or any other?
Yeah, there are
Now
symptoms.
it is not, it is.
See, there are symptoms, there are signs, and there are investigation. So usually, a newly diagnosed patient will come with increased frequency of urine, weight loss, increased drinking of urine, water. So polyuria, polydipsia, polyphyria, increased eating. So if you are a diabetic patient who has sugar of 400, 500, will be like a person in the sea, lost in the sea. There is water everywhere, but he can't drink. His body is unable to metabolize the glucose which is present into his blood. So that's why he gets all these symptoms. The kidney is trying to remove the glucose from the body, so he will pass the urine glucose, and glucose along with it takes a lot of water. So he has increased urination. And because of increased urination, he feels thirsty, so he will drink more water. And because his body is not metabolizing the glucose, he will eat more in the view that he will feel better. But the glucose is not metabolized because insulin is absent or it is not working.
But is it hereditary? Diabetic is hereditary?
So type 2 diabetes is hereditary, where one parent has it, 50% of the children have it, two parents have it, 85% of children have diabetes.
But is there any method for the children to control so that they should not get it?
For that, they should control their weight and regular checkup after the age of 30. Regular 6 monthly checkup for diabetes is important if their parents are diabetic.
Now, see, this insulin is secreted by the pancreas in our body. But how and why that organ becomes incapable of producing insulin?
So,
When it
in
becomes
type 1 diabetes, the all white blood cells destroy the cells which are producing insulin. So that's why they have to take insulin every day for life. But type 2 diabetes, the common diabetes which we see in older people, they have the capacity to produce insulin. But by the time they are diagnosed with diabetes, the capacity of the beta cell to produce insulin has gone down by 50%. So every year there is a loss of 5% of beta cell. That's why most of the type 2 diabetic patients after the age of 10, after 10 years of diagnosis, may go on insulin.
Are there any side effects of this diabetic medicines?
So the most important side effect is hypoglycemia, that is low sugar. Because there is a particular way that these tablets are to be taken, where once you take the tablet, you should have your breakfast or lunch or food, whatever timing you have, you should have it within 15 minutes of the taking the tablet.
After taking the tablets, so after 15 minutes.
There are few tablets which have to be taken before meal, there are few which can be taken after.
What about insulin injection? Should be before the eating or after?
There are different varieties of insulin. The rapid acting insulin are used to control the after food sugar. So these are to be taken 3 times in a day. So these insulin are to be taken 10 to 15 minutes before food, and because they require almost around half an hour to act. But the newer insulins can be taken just 5 minutes before, because the newer insulins start acting within 5 to 10 minutes.
But see, we have a we have a patient now who is diabetic, and his blood sugar is going up every time more than 100, more than 400. So doctor suggested in the beginning 10 in the morning, 10 units, 8 units, 10 units, but it was not coming down. And the doctor did 12, 8, 10 and 12, but still it did not come down. Now he is taking 16, 12 and 16. Now it is in the 300 level, 280 level like that. But why it happens like that?
You should change his doctor. See, you have to manage sugar like your body. Okay, so our body continuously secretes insulin over 24 hours, as soon as you take food, your body produces a particular amount of insulin. So we have to match that. You're just taking 3 times insulin. There are another insulin which can be used for 24 hours. So that needs to be taken to bring down his fasting sugar. So once he starts on this type of regimen, then only his sugar control will be. Because right now he's just chasing the tail. As soon as the sugar increases, he'll increase the insulin, then increase insulin, will cause a dip and
He's
again.
very particular about his diet and his eating habit and all that. But is it due to mental tension? Plus, chances are there that sugar will be.
The way his diabetes is to be treated needs to be thought again. He needs also to be on a long-acting insulin which will be covering his body 24 hours. And then these 3 insulins will keep it in the liver.
Thank you, doctor. Now, what are the long-term complications that a diabetic person can get after can get, and how he can avoid it?
Okay. So
Long-term
there are 2 types of complications a diabetic person gets. These are called as, depending upon the size of the blood vessel, these are called as microvascular and macrovascular. So microvascular complications are 3. That is diabetic retinopathy. The eyes get involved and you may get sudden loss of vision. Then diabetic nephropathy, where the kidneys get affected and the blood, the protein starts appearing in his urine. And third is diabetic neuropathy, where the blood vessels supplying the nerves gets affected, and gradually the nerves get affected, where they will get tingling, numbness, or pain, burning type of pain is also present. So this is microvascular complications. As well as they may get macrovascular complications in the form of heart attack, where the larger blood vessels are infected, or stroke. So these are also present. So all these microvascular complications starts appearing after 5 years of diabetes. So after 5 years of diabetes, every year they should be screened for diabetic retinopathy, diabetic nephropathy, and diabetic neuropathy. And for heart also they need to do a stress test. The blood pressure needs to be controlled, their sugar needs to be controlled. If their blood sugar is well within control, their HbA1c is below 7%, then all these complications are delayed. But if their sugar are uncontrolled, then these complications may even appear early.
But sometimes I feel very funny with diabetic. So I have seen people having diabetic but eating a lot of sweet. But they are healthy and heart, no problem with anything. But one who is very careful and sometimes very careful with the medicine and all that, they are having problem with the heart, kidney and all that.
So that depends upon the genetic makeup of the person. Yeah, because there is nothing in their hands.
Yeah.
They are blessed with good genes.
Now, is it possible to control diabetic only by exercise, walking and yoga without medicine?
Only in the initial few years. After that, they definitely require tablets. So, if a person gets newly detected diabetes, he can control his diet and exercise, and or depending on that, his sugars will get controlled. As time passes, they may require help of medicine.
At what intervals of blood sugar to be tested? That you told me. Is it sufficient to test by glucometer? That you have already answered. Then, can diabetic unchecked lead to death, coma? That also you neglect it may lead to
Yeah,
death,
definitely.
coma. Nowadays, some people go for homeopathy medicine and naturopathy and herbal medicines. instead of allopathy? How far it is effective? These medicines are effective.
So in 2006, there was a large study of around 17,000 patients done in Germany, which is the heart of homeopathy. And they found that it is nothing but plain water.
Oh.
Okay?
Mm.
So we don't believe that. For Ayurveda works through diet, lifestyle. So if you are using diet and lifestyle, that is part of. But the medicines which Ayurveda uses, we are not sure how it works. Most of the time, in olden times, they were using a lot of heavy metals which it can cause kidney damage. We got patients who have them. So we would not recommend that. And for naturopathy, just going on fruit juice, or it is a lifestyle which you cannot sustain. You go, it is like you are taking a temporary break from everything, going 2 weeks for naturopathy, and come back and have food. Then you again your sugars in.
Now what they may feel that by taking this allopathic medicine, there may be some side effect. So it is safe. Herbals and naturopathy and these are like safe.
If it is not effective, what's the point? See, you drink water, you know that it is safe because it does not have any side effect. So, are you going to treat diabetes with water? No, it isn't.
No, some of them say no, your tea is kadi nimbu, your tea eat and tulsi patta.
See, that is the Ayurvedic concept where what is the opposite of sweet is bitter. So that was 5,000 years back when we were not having any medicine. That time people used to treat it like a kadi neem or karela. But that was 5,000 years back. Science has advanced now. So I only once say if Ayurveda had diagnosed how to check sugar, the day they invent that their own method, then they can take advanced medicine also.
But in sugar also, now we get refined sugars and we get different types of sugars we get. But those sugars are useful, we can have it. Because we get, in Patanjali, we get sugar, which is actually.
We don't require sugar at all to live.
Yeah.
Our body is capable
but
of producing.
But can be compensated with that?
No. It is a one step before sugar. So our body can prepare glucose from anything. So this is an artificial thing which over time we all learned. So in your childhood there was no chocolate. So you do not crave for chocolate. But look at our kids now, they crave for chocolate. So it's a programmed, conditioned thing which you learn to do. Now if somebody asks you to have pizza, you will not have pizza as a lunch or dinner. But now small kids, you ask them, they'll jump for it. So that's how we program our kids for having fatty food, salty food, or sugar-based food. So it's how you are habitual.
But how about using a substitute for sugar? You get a substitute, artificial sweetener. So is it okay?
So artificial sweeteners are themselves associated with a lot of side effects. Even few can cause diabetes. There are these sweeteners which can cause neuropathy. If you want to have a tea with sugar, you can have 1 teaspoon of sugar, but that can be compensated by walking for half an hour. But instead of that, you have a bitter karela ka juice or this thing, and then whole day you go craving for sweet. That's not the correct behavior.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Useful information. Very nice. But you really enriched with the disease, and I think I can do better service in my CS. Thank you, doctor. Thank you.
Thank you.